I've gotten a lot worse at presentations than I realized. It's cool though. But yeah, I wrote down some talking points. So I've got this new thing that I'm doing, and we're gonna see how long I can keep that up. Because, yeah. So, anyways, so I wanted to talk about there's this concept, and it was like I was pretty young whenever I learned about it. I was like 14, 15, but it's like the basis of my philosophy. And it's a very simple concept. Even though I was young, I think I understood it pretty well, but I don't remember like anything specific about like where I heard it and stuff. But it's a theory, I think, in existentialism, where essentially the ultimate crime or evil or whatever is taking away someone's freedoms. Well, I guess the ultimate crime is taking away someone's freedoms. The ultimate evil would be deliberately wanting to. So I want to talk a little bit about that in contrast with COVID, I guess. So in the sense like that the ultimate crime is taking away someone's freedoms, like there are obviously deviations of this, but, well, not like of that, but of these, murder and rape are like the two obvious, like, most horrible things that people do, and that's just very blatantly taking away someone's freedom. So it's like self-explanatory. But then the more you go down the line of what constitutes crime and immoral behavior, the more you find out it's just different versions of that. Like, not murder and rape, but taking away people's freedoms. Like, abuse, for instance, is like a form of manipulation, and sometimes it's deliberate, but most often it's not, where, like, it takes away your ability to properly perceive reality. So it takes away your freedom to actually see the world properly. And even if it's not deliberate, it's still bad because of that. So then there's like stealing, okay? So if you think of it like your possessions represent like a corporal form of your identity, because in reality, like, you know, there are some people who don't have a lot of possessions, but what they do have means something to them. So even in that sense, like, money means something to you because it's like, it's not your like societal worth, but it's like a way that you measure your ability to survive in society, okay? So it is actually really important. Even though money doesn't buy happiness, it does buy food. I'm checking the timer. So yeah, so I can go further down the list, but that's why freedom is so important. So I'm gonna explain, I got it from Rocco Galati, and it's actually, I find it's really interesting. So we've got our freedom of thought, okay? So that's your ability to think for yourself, to form your own opinions, to improve and grow as your own person. And that's ridiculously important, okay? Especially for your psychological health. So let's keep this focused on health, right? So your freedom of speech is then the next, and that's like useful for two things. It's useful to express the thoughts that you come up with on your own, and it's useful to share like yourself and really your soul with other people. Because like, I don't know if like conscience is your soul, but it's definitely a representation of it. So if you're sharing if you're sharing like your thoughts with other people, then you're sharing a version of yourself, right? And it's like the one that's like most personal, really. And then the freedom of assembly is the freedom that like it's the like the purpose of it is to share yourself and your thoughts with other people in a way that's meaningful in your community. So it's like your thoughts and opinions and beliefs actually have a value. You're worth something. So that's like freedom of assembly is like, generally speaking, freedom of protest, freedom of sharing your thoughts with people in a way that actually matters. Like, not protest necessarily, but vote, like things like that, like everything that's democratic. So the thing is, those are all like, the freedom of speech is kind of like useless without the freedom of thought. The freedom of thought is kind of useless without the freedom of assembly, like in society kind of thing. But it also has this kind of reverse effect where the freedom of Like, the freedom of speech is affected by your freedom of assembly. Like, you're going to feel different, and your freedom of thought is affected by your freedom of speech. You're going to feel differently if you're not allowed to say certain things. You're going to think differently. You're going to, and sometimes that can be a good thing, but not if your freedom's being robbed from it, you know? Like, if you think differently and it affects your, or if you act differently and it affects your thoughts, that's kind of what CBT is, cognitive behavioral therapy. But, like, if you don't have a freedom of, like, assembly, if you don't feel like your voice has a value within your society, you're going to say things differently. You're not gonna, go advocate for things that you believe in because you feel like, what's the point? Why bother? You can't fight City Hall, all that shit. And then that'll affect the way that you think. Like, okay, well, maybe this is okay in the grand scheme of things, or whatever, because, you can't do anything. So it's got, like, this reverse effect, too, where each layer, like, it's useless without the other, but then if you take one away, it affects the other two. So that's why freedom's important to me. I'll get into the health of it some other time, because it really affects our health. That should be everyone's, like, basic concern. If this is about our health, we should be doing something to keep our freedoms, or whatever. But, yeah, that's the basis of how it works in terms of why this is a big deal, I guess, even if other people don't see it or don't want to see it. So, thanks for watching. Bye.